What is up, you guys? It is your boy, the Powerful Swordsman here, aka the Bankai to the motherfucking Tencho here, bringing you another Senran Kagura discussion. The last time I ever did a Senran Kagura discussion was about a couple weeks ago, right? It was the Senran Ni Neptunia game, which I really can't wait for, which I'm definitely gonna cop on Play Asia when that shit come out in Japan. But anyway, let's get this shit started right now. This is gonna be a video of why Yumi is one of my least favorite characters in Senran Kagura. Was she my favorite? No, she was not. She was never my favorite to begin with. I liked Yumi a lot, but I never considered her my favorite. Like, as y'all know, y'all seen me with the profile picture before I changed it. But Hikage was one of my personal favorite characters in Senran Kagura, and she still is. Minori too. Y'all probably gonna ask why do I got Yumi as a profile picture? Well, it's because of the Yumi that I liked back then than the Yumi I like now. It's most of the Yumi I like back then. I'm gonna start explaining the difference between Yumi back then and Yumi now. Now, Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus is where it started at, where Yumi was first introduced in Senran Kagura. From how I see it, I think, yeah, she was literally introduced in Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus. 2013 was when the game first released in Japan, and Yumi was introduced in the game. See, the difference back then between, you know, Yumi and then Yumi now is back then Yumi had a different view than Asuka, and you know, both of them were enemies at first and shit, and it all started with the whole Shinobi battle royale and shit like that, where both academies battle it out to see who wins and shit. So, you know, it was Hanzo versus Gesen Academy, and you know, honestly, like, the Yumi now is just, it's really disgusting to me. The Yumi now is disgusting. I mean, it's cute and adorable and shit like that. We all love Yumi. Everyone wants Yumi as a waifu. But I have a different view on Yumi. Like, the waifu view that's pretty much different. But this different view on Yumi is far particular from the waifu view. Now, the reason why I say this is because Yumi back then had a different view than Asuka did. Asuka had a view of good justice. She had a view of light justice, like good justice. Like, she was kind of like Naruto. She was like one of the main protagonists of other animes who had a good side and shit like that. While Yumi was basically the antagonist, the evil type of character who had a view known as dark justice. She fought for dark justice and not the same justice as Asuka. And honestly, that kind of Yumi was something I liked better. They were basically two sides of the end of the coin, basically. Now I just think now I just think Yumi is pretty much a clone of Asuka, mostly because they both fight for justice and shit like that. And I could deal with Asuka at first with the whole justice and shit like that, but Yumi, I couldn't take it anymore, because the whole justice thing, I don't have a problem with it, but I'd rather it just be Yumi. Matter of fact, I'd rather just be Asuka with the whole good justice and shit like that, and Yumi remaining with the dark justice. Honestly, the reason why I say that is because I kind of didn't like, in Senran Kagura, I have this thing where I basically, you know, choose whether a character is my favorite or not depending on the personality. Like Hikage. Hikage is one of my favorites because she has no emotions. I mean, she showed some signs of emotions at times in the Senran Kagura games, and sometimes it was mostly due to Haruka's experiments and shit like that. No kidding, it really was. And then there was times when, you know, when she actually showed it through battle and shit like that. But let me be honest with you, Hikage is one of my favorite characters because of that. Because she had no emotions and shit like that, and because her personality was basically just a little bit of an emptiness personality than others. And some characters I like depending on their personality, and some I don't like because of their personality. But Yumi is one of the characters' personalities I don't like now. Her personality is one I liked back then when Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus started, and we were at the start of the game. But when we get close to the end of the game, like when we get at the end of the game, Yumi changes, and Asuka shows her the way of, you know, good justice and all that stuff. And Yumi's change of justice, her change of, you know, who she is, changes along with her friends as well. Like, I mean, her friends didn't have that kind of personality like Yumi did, because Yumi wanted to follow in the footsteps of her late grandfather Kurokage, who was a rogue shinobi as well. And if you haven't seen the Senran Kagura Shinobi Masters anime, which is Senran Kagura Season 2, where Yumi and them, along with Miyabi and them, were introduced in the anime for Season 2, except that Season 2 didn't show that much detail and shit, since it wasn't really based off of any other game, but it was a story that started after Shinobi Versus, since there were some signs of flashbacks and shit like that with Asuka versus Yumi and shit like that, which basically proves that it's a continuation of Shinobi Versus, a sequel to Shinobi Versus or something like that. But yeah, And it mostly shows some of Kurokage's past life as a rogue shinobi and how he wanted to kill instead of just having to let other like, you know, let other targets go and shit like that. Because him and Hanzo were friends back in the day, and they'd always go on missions. But Kurokage had a different sign of his missions and shit like that, and he hated how his missions always went. He wanted to kill his targets, like he wanted to kill his prey and all that stuff on these missions instead of just, you know, like checking on them 24/7 to see what their intentions are and shit like that. And he couldn't follow on with these missions, so he decided to become a rogue shinobi and follow his own path as a shinobi, and ended up pretty much killing whatever shinobi comes in his way. Being a rogue shinobi means that there's going to be a lot of good shinobi coming after you to kill you and shit like that. So, you know, Kurokage took all those shinobi down and shit. Later on, Yumi was only a little kid after her parents died and shit like that, and Kurokage, her grandfather, took her in. And, you know, knowing what Kurokage's life was like as a rogue shinobi and shit like that, she wanted to follow in the footsteps of him. And in the anime, it does show, like in season 2 of Senran Kagura, it does show the flashback with everything that's happened, and it shows the flashback of how Kurokage slapped Yumi because Kurokage did not want Yumi to become like him. But with Shinobi verses and all that shit, Yumi didn't care. She wanted to follow on with her grandfather's legacy and make him proud. So she continued to follow in the whole efforts of dark justice and all that stuff. And honestly, I know it's a bad thing for me to say, but I kind of like that Yumi much better than the Yumi we know now, because honestly, the Yumi we know now is cute and all, and she's waifu material and shit. She was even waifu material at the start of Shinobi verses when she was introduced. But honestly, the Yumi we know now is just, I don't like that personality because it's the same thing as Asuka's. It's like the same thing as Asuka's, mostly, not like all personality wise, just the personality of I'm fighting for justice and all that shit. I fight for this, I fight for that. It's kind of literally the same type of coins at the end. You know what I'm saying? But Asuka, Yumi, like if you look at it, both of them fight for justice and all that stuff. And I kind of don't really want to see a second clone of Asuka. It wouldn't be a second clone. I know it's not a second clone or anything like that, but honestly, Yumi is one of my least favorite characters because of that one simple problem, mostly because both of them fight for justice and stuff. And I have this thing where some characters shouldn't really have the same personality. Characters having the same personality would mean that I probably wouldn't even see that much character development if both characters have the same personality. You know what I'm saying? Like only some parts of the same personality. I'm fighting for justice. I'm fighting for justice. I'd rather Yumi have fought on the side of dark justice, and it kind of gets me thinking of what would happen if Yumi did fight on the side of dark justice. What would happen if she was a bit different? If she was a bit different from Asuka, and you know, Asuka never won the battle against her, and you know, how would things be though? What would Yumi be like? How would Yumi, you know, how would Yumi like continue on this path of dark justice? Would she have gone rogue ninja or something like that? Would she become a rogue shinobi and shit like that? I don't know. I honestly just I honestly don't know. Could she have turned out like Kurokage? Because we all know Kurokage, her grandfather, would not want that granddaughter to turn out to be a rogue ninja, just like he used to be back in the day. And you know, seeing as how Yumi is now, it's honestly too late to think that. But what if Senran Kagura, you know, like we all know Senran Kagura has different dimensions, different universes and shit like that, like the Deep Crimson universe and shit like that, other universes in Senran Kagura. So it gets me thinking, what if there was an alternate universe where Yumi actually changed, where she wasn't good and where she wasn't fighting on the side of good justice, and Asuka had never defeated her that day in Shinobi verses. What would happen? What would Yumi have done with her life as a shinobi? And mostly, what would become of the rest of her friends, Yozakura, Murakumo, Shiki, and Minori? What would happen to the four of them? What would they do? Would they try to stop Yumi? Would they get a new leader? No, they would not. I know they would try to stop Yumi. If Yumi was basically on the path of dark justice, she would have probably turned out to become a bit different if she focused on the path of dark justice. And this would be something that could, you know, this would be something I'd probably like in a different Senran Kagura universe, different dimension or something like that. I don't know. Who knows? She would have probably joined Shin and became an evil shinobi, and probably turned out like Homura or Miyabi. Well, honestly, I don't think she'd turn out like them. She'd probably choose a bit of a different path. Like she'd probably in a different universe, she'd be a rogue ninja. She'd probably be like Homura and them. In the way they are now. except that it would be the opposite ways around. Homura and them would be back in their academy and shit. They'd still be evil ninjas and shit like that, but they'd still be back in their academy and shit like that. They wouldn't be considered rogue and shit. They'd still be back in Heavy Joe and shit, and Miyabi and them wouldn't have become the new Heavy Joe. You know what I'm saying? But that would probably be saved for a different video, so I probably might save that for a different video of how the Senran Kagura universe would be different and shit like that with certain characters. So other than that, I think that's why Yumi is my most least favorite character. Mostly because of the way she is now, and she will never become my favorite character again, but I honestly felt like talking about this. I'm not putting any disrespect towards Yumi. We all know Yumi is waifu material. Heck, I want Yumi as waifu material as well, but it's the personality I mostly hate that she has now that makes her my least favorite character. Heck, she wasn't even my favorite character to begin with. Some people would probably believe that because of the profile picture I have, but I mostly felt like changing it mostly because let's show some characters more respect, you know what I'm saying? Just because they're my least favorite doesn't mean that I think they don't deserve respect. They do deserve respect. They're fine in my opinion. It's just certain characters that I don't really like in terms of certain personality and how they act. But in terms of battling and all that stuff, I have no problem with that. It's just in terms of personality that I have a specific problem with. So don't hate on me or anything like that, but we all have our different taste on certain anime characters or anime game franchise characters. You know, come on, bro. Come on. But I think that's my discussion for now of why Yumi is my most least favorite character. And I literally know someone, like I know a friend of a friend who says that Yumi is one of the worst characters. And honestly, it like him saying that kind of got me thinking on this topic of, you know, why some people would think she's, you know, least favorite and why I think she would be my most least favorite. This is one of my most reasons of why she's my least favorite. Let me know what you guys think. Other than that, it is your boy, the Powerful Swordsman here, aka the Bankai to the motherfucking Tencho, signing out. You know, man, subscribe for some more Senran Kagura content. Subscribe for some more Senran Kagura content and for some more Estival verses, because I'm trying to bring some more Estival verses online back. Yeah. Other than that, you guys, it is your boy, the Powerful Swordsman here, aka the Bankai to the motherfucking Tencho, signing out.